Hello and welcome to Code for Life. Today, let us look at a very interesting topic on how to write a brute force program to solve many types of problems. As we know that computers are incredibly fast in doing simple tasks, and most importantly, computers do not get tired or bored of doing repeated tasks. In brute force method, we harness this power by asking the computer to try all the possibilities till we get the required answer. Let us write a few lines of code so that we have our very own brute force code which we can use in future to solve variety of problems. So let's begin. Let's create a new project and name it. Now let us create a new package called util and a class which is the most important piece of our code. Let's name the new class All Possibilities. Before we continue, let's quickly look at the theory behind the code. Imagine a case where you have n number of variables which can store some number of possible solutions, and only a few of the solutions are correct. For example, say you want to find the password of length n and each of the n characters can possibly be any English alphabets. That is, 26 characters are possible for each location in the password. The idea behind a brute force program is to increment the value at each time and to check whether it satisfies the problem or not. And if the possibility satisfies the problem, then we have our solution. Let's continue with the code now. The code which we are about to write will do the work of providing the next possible value within the prescribed limits for each variable. Let's define arrays for storing limits and the current possibility of numbers. Take the limits for the problem at hand and save it in a local variable and initialize the numbers array. Let us make sure that the limits passed are all positive. Also set the value at 0th index to -1 so that when we increment it becomes 0. Otherwise the first possibility will start with 1 and not 0. Now let us write the increment method for a given index. Check that the value does not exceed the limits, and if the element at the last index has reached the limit, then let us throw an exception saying that we have exhausted all the possibilities. And if any other index has reached the limit, then set the index value to 0 and increment the index just next to it. On the other hand, if the index has not reached the limit, then just add 1 to it. Now let's define the method for getting the next value, which is just by calling increment on index 0. That's it, and we have our complete code ready. This code can be used to brute force any number of variables and with any number of possibilities. So when the getNext method is called, it calls increment with index as 0, which in turn looks whether the limit has reached and if so increments other index as required. and notifies if all possibilities are over. Since the getNext method will be called from other parts of the program, let me write a small documentation for it. Finally, let us test our code. Let me define some arbitrary limits for say 3 variables, create an object of class allPossibilities, and an array for storing the current possibility. And let me call the getNext method within a loop. If numbers is null, that means that we have covered all the possibilities. Let us now print out each value just to check what we get. We can see that all possibilities between 000 and 541 have been covered. Notice that we started with zeros and therefore we only go up to 1 less than the limits. We can try out some other limits and recheck the code. As you can see that we are not limited by any number of variables or any limit. If you however try to set the limit as 0 or a negative number, then it will throw an exception as expected. Before I end this video, let me show you a small test for checking all possible combinations of 3 alphabets. As you can see, the code has iterated through the 3 alphabets starting from AAA up to CCC. The question now is, what's the use of this code and how can we use it for real-world problems? Well, we can now just change the code inside the function code to run for this possibility to check whether it is the solution to the problem at hand. If it is a solution, only then we can print it out. I will be using this code to solve some very interesting problems in mathematics and logic in future. So click the links on this video or check the description to see how to use the code to solve some pretty interesting problems. As always, I will be sharing this code on GitHub, so check the link in description. Let me know through comments if the code was useful to you in any way, and I would like to know about the problem which you solved by using brute force. As always, keep coding your way out of problems. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.